Tea Time True Crime with Katie, and tonight's story is going to be a long one. We're actually going to talk about a serial killer that is not very well known, but believe me, he was absolutely horrible, terrible, and viewer discretion is advised. Randy Kraft was born on March 19th, 1945. He was a serial killer, a serial rapist, and also known as the Scoreboard Killer, Southern California Strangler, and the Freeway Killer. He just committed these horrible acts of SA, torture, psychological warfare. He was just not a good dude, like, at all. His killing spree happened in the 1970s to the 1980s. Authorities assume that he may have killed about 67 young men. Yes, he is still in prison, ladies and gentlemen, and he is still alive. What? They killed Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, they're not going to kill this guy either? Sorry, that's not right. On with the story. Randy Kraft would lure young men and boys and mutilate them and just torture them. And he let some go, but then he also killed a lot of them. Again, we do not know how much the body count is, but like I said, it could be up there in the high 60s. People may even think in the hundreds. Now you're probably wondering, why was he called the Scoreboard Killer? Well, he finally got caught by doing something really stupid. He literally was driving under the influence and got pulled over and literally had what they thought was this gentleman was asleep. He was dead. Now, when the police saw the vehicle, searched him, saw there was a dead body, they checked the trunk and they saw all kinds of torturing devices in the trunk. Then they saw a piece of paper in the car with each words or codes, which police believe are just some of the victims of Randy Kraft. There are 65 names listed, and they're not regular names like Tom, Dick, or Harry. It's like code names. Now, police could only find 43 victims on the scorecard, even though 65 names were on the paper. Years later, you guys, Randy says that list that we call him the Scoreboard Killer was actually just a party list. The body that was found when they arrested Randy Kraft was actually a deceased Marine with his genitals exposed, no shoes, and there were red marks around his neck. Now, we all know that serial killers have to start somewhere. Well, what I'm about to tell you is going to frustrate you because his first victim was a 13-year-old boy that got away. In March of 1970, Joseph Alwyn Fancher, I believe, he actually ran away from home. He went to Huntington Beach, and where he found Randy Kraft. Randy Kraft drugged him, kidnapped him, and showed him lewd photos of men before SAing him. Fancher miraculously escaped and ran to the ER and went to the police. Yeah, he escaped, ran to a bar, then the bar people called the ER, rushed him in. He is all battered and bloody. You're gonna get real mad, you guys. So, the police went to Randy Kraft's house, but did not have a search warrant to search his home. So sadly, the case was thrown out. And yes, Kraft walked away. Even today, you guys, Kraft still maintains his innocence, even though he was caught with a dead body in his car. He is known to actually kill mostly hitchhikers and sadly men who would have not been missed. The police and FBI are still baffled by this serial killer because he actually led 3 different lives. His IQ was extremely high and he worked with computers, with his roommate. While his roommate was frequently trolling the gay bars, Randy had the time to kill. And while his roommate was working on the weekends, okay, Randy was free to kill. So he did like 3 different lives: his career, the weekends, and the weekdays. Kraft was almost arrested again. Keith Davin Crotwell, his decapitated head was found in 1975, and the last known whereabouts was he was in Randy Kraft's car, but due to insufficient evidence, they let Randy go. His crimes took place in California, Oregon, Michigan. This is what's tricky, you guys, and I'm sorry to put this in your brain, but Kraft actually was silenced for many, many years in prison until 2015, where he explains that the body in his car was actually alive, fighting for his life, but the police didn't do CPR or any medical attention, okay? And by then, the gentleman did pass away, and the police just labeled him a serial killer. Yeah, he's very cunning, you guys. Kraft has only been charged with 16 murders, but again, he is linked to over in the high 60s, maybe even 100. He is a gay serial killer, and that is rare. But another gay serial killer is John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer. But this guy, I couldn't even believe I didn't hear about him. He was pretty bad. The next I'm about to say, guys, is really brutal. Please, I go into detail about what he used to do with his victims. Randy Kraft did have a military background, and he also worked as a bartender. Now, when you hear the word torture, that is not a happy word at all, and it's actually kind of rare among serial killers. Like, they kill and everything, but to be an actual sadist and loved torturing, he would slowly dismember his victims while they were alive, even remove their testicles. On a few victims, he would even cut their eyelids open so they couldn't close their eyes. He made them see what he was doing to them. He savagely SA'd them and stuck things in there where the sun don't shine. We really don't know how long or how many days he tortured these young men and boys, but like I said, most of them were runaways, hitchhikers, and gay men afraid of just being out in the community. Randy Kraft was very ashamed of his homosexuality, which we do see that in homosexual serial killers. So maybe that's where the rage comes from. Today, we don't know why someone is that evil and that brutal. And I don't want to give him any notoriety, but I'm talking about him because these men need to be remembered. Nobody deserves this. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, you're doing better than you think.